So I am doing Shakira for my course project and her about her life and her success and how coming from hot climate culture influences her music. I'm going to be specifically covering her album Oral Fixation Volume 2. So Shakira is known as, Shakira for us, but her real name is Shakira Isabel Mebarak Ripoll, and she's from Barranquilla, Colombia. She was born on February 2nd, 1977, and her father is Lebanese and her mother is from Colombia, so she has a very diverse background, and as we learned in Foreign to Familiar, a lot of the Spanish countries come from, hot climate culture, and Shakira is definitely from one of those, and you can tell in her music. So in her early life, she wrote her first song at 8 and signed her first record deal at 13. Her first albums, didn't really take off because she wasn't singing to the right kind of crowd. Her music wasn't really what she wanted it to be. So she then started singing in Spanish, which is, when she really, her career took off. She wrote about relationships and how important they are, which makes sense because she's from this hot climate culture and the way she writes. So in 2000, she won her first Grammy for Best Latin Pop Album. That album was called Shakira MTV Unplugged. She then decided, she was ready for an expansion in her music to try and please the American audience. So after 2000, she moved to Miami to start her career, in the English-speaking world. She actually went to school to learn how to speak and write in English, which, helped her create albums that appealed to everyone, and she ended up releasing her first English language album in 2001. So she wrote Oral Fixation Volume 1 completely in Spanish, and because of the success it had, she came back and wrote Oral Fixation Volume 2, which was her most popular album in the US. She wrote this one completely in English. It was her first album completely in English with no Spanish speaking. It came after winning a Grammy for her first Oral Fixation album, so, it was kind of a big deal to her to try and get the popularity in the American community. This album consists of the song Hips Don't Lie, which I know everyone knows. It's her most famous and listened to song. So on the album cover, you can see that she is dressed as Eve from the Bible, which is pretty, perplexing, kind of hard to understand what she's getting at, but she wants people to think that this apple that she's eating is her form of oral fixation, and that for Adam, he would eat the apple as well, and, that would be his fixation too. And she named it the album this because she thought her biggest source of pleasure is what comes from her mouth, and she's fixated on the spoken word and just wants that to be Adam's fixation as well. So she basically ties relationship into this and how much she values relationship, and puts it on the cover, puts it in the name of the album, and also then continues to sing about relationships throughout the album as well. So a few songs I like off of this album are obviously Hips Don't Lie. It's a very catchy song, and I know that everybody knows that is probably her most famous song. And then another one called Costume Makes the Clown. She's pretty much getting at a guy, tell him that the costume he's wearing in his life is what makes him a clown in their relationship. And, it's pretty funny to listen to just because she's not being the kindest of people. It makes for a pretty good breakup song. So in recent years, Shakira has judged on The Voice as well as starring in movies and voicing over animated characters. She is still continuing to make music and releasing albums to this day and is still very successful, I think. I'm very glad that I chose to do my project over her and got to learn about, where she comes from when she writes and how diverse her background is and how much she values relationships, just like a hot climate culture person would. So I hope everyone likes learning about her as much as I did.